We're officially live. All right. Hey, welcome everyone to this is the LA Wave Traders Crypto Wave, LA Wave Trader Crypto and Crypto Waves monthly public webinar that I put on. It's just to expose people to what we do. Not meant to be a high pressure thing. Not all of your emails are kept in some thing that's going to, subject you to the pressure. But if you're interested in the service, check it out. If you're coming in on Twitter, my links in my profile will lead you there. And we do free trials with no pressure again, no credit cards either, actually, on LA Wave Trader, so that you don't have to even worry about canceling. All right, that's enough of the marketing. Let me run through. I got a few housekeeping items, but let me run through what we're going to do today. We're going to go through Bitcoin, Ether charts, Ether, the Bitcoin pair, Ether versus Bitcoin pair, GBTC, BIDO. I just realized I didn't update my BIDO chart, so you guys have to bear with me as I do that. I try to get all of these charts all set. And then I cover a series of altcoin and crypto equity charts in a weekly report, so we go run through those charts. That's quite a few there, pretty heavy. And then subscribers to both LA Wave Trader and Seeking Alpha Crypto Waves have given me some requests. That means that if you have not had access to those threads and not given me requests from not doing your chart, I apologize. Well, I don't apologize. It's really necessary for the flow. So I'm not going to take any chart requests inside the question box. I reserve for Q&A. If you want your favorite coin covered, you've got to put it in the thread that's posted on Friday on both services ahead of time so that I can run through charts. I do always fail to miss a couple charts to run through, but I do run through them in the morning. Make sure I do that. So that was one housekeeping item. Again, no requests in the question box. There's going to be some rearranging this week coming up for those that are subscribed. I have got an Uber picking me up at 4:30 a.m. tomorrow, so I get down to Vegas, and that's for the money show. We're also doing members meetup. We got team meetings, got the members meetup. I don't remember the spot, but if you need me to find it for you, I'll be around today and I can find it. We're going to meet with members. Then I have a talk on Monday that is, I think the talk on Monday is unpaid, it's free. And then on Wednesday, I think I've got a paid one. I'm not getting paid, but somebody's getting paid. That means it's in a private room that they verify that you paid for it. But if you're subscribed to the service, you know everything. You got it all down. Even when it's paid, there's only so much you can cover in an hour or even 45 minutes versus what you guys get from me every day. So you're not missing anything, but you are welcome to attend. I would not pay for it. Just attend the freebie if you do decide to come. And just again, housekeeping on me traveling. I just, for security purposes, I don't hang out with people in Vegas. I don't even take meetings most of the time. People on LinkedIn have been trying to hit me up for meetings. I just don't do that as a security protocol because I've had some hairy situations. But if you want to meet me, you come to the talk. The talk that's paid, I got to take my flight right afterwards, so I'm not even hanging out. That's the one on Wednesday. My flight is right after. In fact, I cut it really close. You can chat with me on Monday before I head back. That also means that there's a couple things. Sorry, this is rambly, but I will be on the board as much as possible. But when I have a talk, obviously I won't be. Now, Jason, we have the whole darn management team in Las Vegas. Jason, works across many services. He's going to have to double time on the other services because I'm still going to cover mine. So we may get less of him for a few days. Okay, you get a little less of me, but you get much more less of him probably. I know he'll hang out in crypto as much as he can. So just understand that. And then lastly, then we'll move on to charts. I'm going to put the weekly report out tonight because I have no idea what time I'm going to be able to get it out tomorrow because of travel, members meet up, and then we have a team dinner and all that stuff. So I'm just not going to end up doing a report at like midnight and having it garbled and all sorts of stuff. I have enough hard time writing it when I'm at home. So anyway, that's the scoop for the week. If you have any questions about that, let me know. I can double down on that. But just be patient for a few days. Wednesday, I'll be back normal Thursday doing it, but again, still, I'm not going anywhere. It's just going to be rearranging the schedule. It's going to be a little bit kind of off kilter, I guess you could put it. All right, let's hit the charts. And okay, I want to be very careful how I speak about these things, especially when we do go through Bitcoin and Ether, because I think we've had one of the most horrid reversals I've seen in Bitcoin in years. I don't think it's ever been this horrid, actually. Maybe May 2021 during that low. I do lean on the perspective that we have seen the bottom in the 2021, 2022 bear market, but it is not an easy one, and I will also not be surprised if we break the lows of 2022. I just say so. I want to emphasize the leaning, and it really is a level by level thing. I think there's a lot of good things going on in this market, but it's very, very treacherous. And then, I mean, some of you guys that if you're just trading some basic technicals, you might be even better. Elliott Wave is really, really likes clean impulsive patterns to get, really precise levels. And this is not that. Okay, so I'm throwing a lot of secondary. Sorry, I'm going to back up again. One thing I missed, and I'm going to say this before we get there so people are not surprised. Sorry, I'm going to back up again, then I'm going to get back to the chart. At the end of this webinar, I want to go through our trade results for, I want to start doing that because we've got new members, we've got algo tools, quantitative tools, and all that. I want to make sure everyone understands it, and I'm going to go through the quick results that we've had in the last couple months, and what they are, what these tools are. It's because I know some people are new to them and ask me a ton of questions, and I want to do that either every weekly webinar or every other weekly webinar, and for members, and I would actually appreciate any feedback if you say it's just noisy, but I'm putting it at the end, so if anyone thinks, okay, I know all this stuff, they can just drop off. All right, and if you're from Twitter, you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, but if you are interested in the service, I would hang out because you can actually see what the heck we did. So anyway, so now that I got that away, let's go back to the chart. So pretty treacherous action, but I think there's a lot of positive aspects. What is going to be fairly garbled is the path from here, even if we are headed up to 125K, which is my weekly target up here. Okay, you can see all these colors, right? There's a lot going on, and I'm going to try to dispel things. The one thing I would say, just tactically speaking, this is where I do really well because I have this very semi-lazy way of trading where when I see a range like this, if we just break this down into a range, to me, the easy way to trade this is, as you're going lower, buy a little bit, keep the position reasonably sized, scale, 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 you go into profit, scale out. Probably the one time, three guys that were around last week, I warned that I really didn't like where action was going, and I thought we could put it in the top. Well, it ended up being pretty timely, right? I mean, I was concerned about saying that because even when I say I think we can top, I'm not taking everything off. I just scaled out a little bit last Saturday. That turned out to be extremely timely. And again, we can review the technicals I was looking at that said, okay, I think this is we're in a tough spot where this third wave supposed is probably going to fail. That's basically what I was saying, whether I put it in those words or not. So we'll review that. I see good technicals coming. Actually, we'll talk about that. But expresses again the way I trade, especially when Elliott Wave patterns are very messy. I trade at a very lazy level of position size. It's not lazy, actually. It's very intentional. But what I'm not doing is taking very aggressive trades at every turn, trying to, unless I have an algo signal or something like that. I am simply scaling in and out, and man, it has produced a heck of a lot of profit, right? So, I mean, if anyone who's doing it and trading that way, or some semblance of my approach, it's been very profitable. But so what that is to say is that I took off a bunch last Saturday, as I had said. I was working through those positions from Saturday to Sunday, something like that. Maybe even to Monday, I was still taking positions off. We got confirmation that was a top, but I'm already ready to buy, right? So, but because that's just my approach. But that doesn't. But all of that money that came off on Saturday is not going back on. It's just like a little bit here, a little bit there. Looking at positions very carefully. Many days. It takes me many days to position the way I want to when I am trading this way. Okay. So so I'm saying that because partly because any levels I'm expressing to you should be held to be very sort of, I don't want to say low probability, but expect levels to break right now because all of the action is corrective. And this is where a lot of Elliott Wave trader subscribers struggle or even quit the service, because when you got a sloppy pattern, Elliott Wave structures become very difficult to trade, and you can quite easily get yourself chopped up trying to take every level. And I give my trades a lot of space when I have this kind of action. Okay, so it's just a tactical kind of overarching principle to trading right now that I am taking to keep myself out of the sort of stop, trade stop, trade stop, trade stop type of chop that happens when you are in this kind of corrective range. Okay. All right, so that's just a tactical note that I would hope everyone sinks into everyone's hearts and into their actions, and especially those that are not very good at trading. Don't if you want to take some aggressive trades, just size them down. I think that's the best approach, so that you're not taking like 3/4 of your account and swinging it hard on some little level that may not hold very well. At the same time, scaling in and out can make you quite wealthy over time if you give it a lot of patience. If you understand, if you're willing to give the trades a lot of room. When I say a lot of room, I'm talking about $15,000 of room, because and even still, if we were to break through the 15,000 level, I would go from maybe depleting the cash in my crypto accounts to actually getting into my bank account. Like, that's probably the approach I would take. So it would be scale, so all the way down. The only challenge to that is right now I'm trying to getting a house. So I actually put an offer a house yesterday. So I need to get cash in my bank account, keep it there. So maybe a little of a challenge if I had to do that, but that's my general approach if I wasn't purchasing a house. Okay. So for those who don't know, I moved up to Seattle about a year and a half ago, and when we had our life in the Bay Area, we were kept out of the market. Every house was $1.5 million. You couldn't get a house underneath that. You're lucky to get $1.5 million. They were mostly $2 million in the town we lived. So anyway, so we're buying up here, and I need to have some cash, but that would be the general approach I'd do. I'd find a way to do it if we were headed to 13K, 10K, and all that. But like I said earlier, I lean to that not being the case. Okay. All right. Zooming in to the actual counts, it is my perspective, especially now that we've seen failure, that I do not expect a 5-wave structure all the way up to 125K. It should take some level of ABC. That ABC can come in the form of this top being the A B forming way down here as low as 18,000 and then a rally in C. If we hold the 21,800 region, which is reasonable, or anything higher than that, then my perspective will be that we have a higher A formed at this B. This B, which ties to this C, again, is the count that I lean against. But if we were to come up here into the 50 region and couldn't hold the probably roughly 19 to 20K, I'd have to get precise. Then I would have to take the perspective that we're heading way down. Okay, so it's going to be a while before we can deal with that. But regardless, this B is important, because this B can also be an A, because B and A's can also be 3 waves. So it could be like that. So I'm looking for the market to tell me whether it's likely to be an A, B like this, which incidentally could form another larger A like this here. But we're going to cross that when we get there. So I'm looking for the market to tell me whether we're going to get an A, B like this, or more likely to get a 1, 2, which gives us a higher A here. This I do not know, and I cannot predict. Okay. If we continue to go down and break this support and we break 21,800, then it's definitely going to be this B again, unless this doesn't hold, and then we're down here. So I am very much waiting for the count to be clarified. It is not going to stop me, again, like I said earlier, from scaling in. It's going to be extra careful until I see an impulsive reversal that says, okay, that we likely to hold. The other thing, for those, there's a couple things going on here from a technical perspective that I want to point out on the daily that is very, very important. Let's see, did I get rid of? No, I didn't get rid of it. It's right here. All right, so let's go to the daily chart on the handy dandy trading view. I got my RSI out. Okay, so we can see here the technicals that made me, guys, remember I was very bullish at this low. Why? Because RSI was at 30. It was the first higher low or solid higher low in RSI 30. Okay, so that was, I made a kind of a nice little trumpet call here. Okay, we did very well. I wanted to see a third wave break out here. But then this was the warning, right, that we looked at last week, bearish divergence. Okay, I don't like bearish divergence for calling a top, but we had confirmation by it also breaking price support. So always, anytime, well, it's interesting in Bitcoin because these kinds of lows in an RSI can give you a really nice trade, but divergence can also keep you out of really nice trades for looking at divergent tops. So it's just experience. It's a little less useful, but so I gave it as a warning, much less of an aggressive trade, but we certainly got confirmation that that was important. All right, but now look at it. I want you guys to look at it very carefully here. We've got an area of support. Actually, what I'm drawing here is kind of the supply zone that we busted through. Again, I don't trade supply and demand zones. Some people do, but we have a supply zone here that was being sold constantly, and then we broke through it off of that low RSI. There are lots of reasons I don't trade that, but it's a very reasonable way to trade. Sometimes those supply zones become demand zones after broken. I mean, they're not really demand zone because no one's buying in there yet, right? There's no sign of anyone buying in there, but we may get the first sign of it here. But what's interesting to me is RSI is already really low on the daily chart, and it's not going to take much for it to hit 30 again, right, and get a higher low. So that'll be very bullish to me. Now, the first sign of this turning into a large trend down is we get to an oversold and we get a lower high, right? If we get a lower high and we get it into plus 60, preferably over 70, then that would be a very bearish sign to me. But I'm going to assume first that if this RSI hits 30, that I may take like a futures trade. That would be a good place for me to take a futures trade, swing trade. Okay, so I'm watching for that, and it looks pretty good in terms of holding that 21,800, which I'd rather hold on that red count. Looks pretty good for that to hold with RSI being low. Okay, so that's what I'm waiting for. But I'm going to be scaling in a little bit here and there. On Friday I added a little GBTC, added a little BIDO. Again, the GBTC is only there to lower my cost overall because I don't want to really trade the instrument anymore. I like BIDO a lot better. But I took 2 of those trades on Friday. But again, they're super tiny. I mean, that's just my typical, like I said, lazy trade style. I'm going to buy a little here as we come down. Got a lot more cash to buy lower as we go. But I got my eyes on this RSI here with a higher low. Again, very good sign that you will see during a bull market. You will see the RSI put in sub 30s as the trend is continuing up. That means every time it puts in a 30, it's got another higher high from generally versus the last time it was at 30. So I would expect in this, if this is gonna be bullish, that we're gonna hit 30 and the price is gonna be a lot higher than this point, which is last time we hit 30. That's just generally the way it goes in bull cycles, fairly reliable. I've used it for years. It's hardly ever important because we hardly ever do it. These were all lower lows, so those are never useful signals. We got the first one right here, and we know what that got us. Got us a few grand, actually 6 grand. Well, eight. It got a little bit more than 8 if you traded exactly at the top. Which, if you took my Saturday advice last week, you at least took some off, right? So roughly about 8 grand off of that RSI. Okay, so I don't get targets off RSI. We'll use Elliott Wave for targets above, but that's about what we got, and so that will be a very reasonable spot to start to add to positions that you've taken off. Doesn't mean we're going to get there either. If we start to see an impulse, then we may never see it, and I would be extremely bullish. But I have no sign of that in the micro, which I'm going to go through right now. Let's hit it on motive wave. I'm spending a lot of time on Bitcoin because it's kind of the center, and then I'm going to try to go run through Ether faster because we got a lot of stuff to go through. All right, and here, so just looking at this real quick, finally looks like we were hopefully developing a bottom in the third. Right now, resistance is 27.87. That would be the first sign of a bottom, but it can be a B with a 3-wave, A wave. It's possible. So the difference would be whether it's impulsive or corrective. I'm going to assume we're going lower until I see that impulse. Okay, simple as that. I assume we're going lower until I see an impulse. Simple as that. Okay, no reason to be aggressive. Again, lazy scaling by a little bit. Some of you guys were some of you guys were, bothering when we were threatening, quote unquote, to break out in the third. Of course, we failed. A lot of you guys were like, I need to get a good position. Where can I get a good entry? Well, you're getting your entry now. So, don't waste it. Don't end up, flipping from, I need to get my entry to now I'm scared. That's you got a psychological problem with trading if that's the case. Like that's very normal human behavior. And if you want to trade successfully, you can't be in normal human behavior because normal humans are not successful at trading, right? So just be aware of that psychological stuff, because some of you guys I know are still having issues with it. I can tell by the responses, the replies, and all of that. And none of this is meant to be trading advice, of course. But I'm just, I'm trying to teach you guys how to have kind of the right mind frame, right? All right, so that's kind of the gist here in this micro action. I'm just going to expect lower until I see an impulse. I'll continue to form resistance. There's nothing here that says we bottomed, although it's due for a bounce. It's expected to be corrective. We break through that 28.7. That's something. Question is whether it's going to be impulsive or not. Whether we hold a higher low, like come down to this low and then hold a higher low, aka wave 2. Then we can start to look higher, but there's nothing in this right now today that says we have bottom, so this correction continue. That doesn't mean you shouldn't take longs. Again, how you take longs, at least to me, it depends far more on your position size. And then again, why do I do that? Because sometimes we wake up in the morning and Bitcoin's just higher, right? I mean, it's just that's the other thing is some people think, we're going lower today. They can wake up the next day and think, Bitcoin's just going to be much lower, and then they wake up and Bitcoin's higher, and then they're like, oh crap, right? That's why I scale. That's the core reason with crypto. I do it in stocks too, but more than that, I do it in crypto because sometimes I wake up in the morning and the traders in Asia have moved the needle big time, So it just, these are things that I've learned from years now in trading crypto. So, all right. So lower until it's not, but right now I expect lower, and we'll just track it as it goes. I think that's all I've got to say on Bitcoin. So let's go to Ether, and then if you formulate your questions, I'll cover questions after I go run through a few charts. Ether, it's interesting because this chart's pretty darn bullish with a higher low where Bitcoin had a lower low. But this is quite a failure here at the 764. It doesn't change much the bullish stance. The first question is whether we can hold 1463 here. That's the first thing, and that would be the blue count, and then it should run to 3000. It is a sloppy mess now. It is quite a sloppy mess, but regardless, clear levels of support, so we can work with that. If not, then we've got a level down here. I'd have to go get precise about it once we break, but it's in the 1300 region. It'll be way down here at 300. Not expected, right? Same thing with Bitcoin, not expected. But again, the unexpected happens. So this is just all here so that you can manage risk, not to take it as a predictive. This is not prediction. This is just managing risk. These are the potential scenarios here. I consider this one, the lower it is, the lower probability it is right now, especially as we start to put in higher lows. Technicals that are more positive on the daily chart, like we have in Bitcoin, we have it in Ether, all the same. Had the same RSI thing here, all the same. So let's see if it holds. Let's see, what is that level? See, did I get over? See, 15. Oh yeah, 1522. So 1520, just to round it off. That's our level for this blue count. So that's the first thing I'm watching. So basically, that's it. All the technicals I said on the daily, same deal. Go into the micro. So I'm trying to speed up, but if any questions, let me know. 1974 right now is our resistance for wave 4. A waves can be 3 waves, so if it does pop over 1374, question will be first whether it's our B wave or all of our correction. I expect this one to hit 17. It would be strange. It can be a running B, so it's possible, but it would be strange if it didn't hit 1700. But yeah, running B flats are there. They exist, so it's possible that it doesn't get there. But again, assume down until we have an impulse. I mean, it's the same game all the time. Assume it's going lower until it shows that impulsive potential to see if it can fully reverse. Same deal. Ether Bitcoin pair, bigger mess than all the charts, but I'm watching to see if it can hold 0.064. That would be a higher low to indicate that it's headed up into 0.1. If it breaks 0.064, then it should be headed into 0.055. I mean, it's been expected to be at 0.055 for a while, and it just every time it starts to drop into that space, it felt like it had to pop back up. And the question is this last pop 5 of wave 1, circle 1 in red, or is it C of B? And it really can be either. I slightly prefer seeing it drop into 0.055 in this situation, which again, don't correlate the Ether Bitcoin chart together to the USD charts. It has not been correlated lately. So me expecting it drops to 0.055 doesn't mean I'm expecting some big drop in the USD charts for Bitcoin Ether. It has not been correlated at all in that regard. So, you know, it often is, but it has not been of late. So there's no reason to say that I'm saying both. They can be mutually exclusive right now because they're very uncorrelated. All right, so that's the gist on that one. Not much to add. GBTC, again, I don't like doing the long-term chart because it's so screwed up. But you know, hopefully we're getting to 100 one day. It's at a level of support as of Friday for an extension for 5. Again, this chart has been not even correlated to Bitcoin. Partly, you know, it could be the sentiment around the lawsuit, whatever. It ever hasn't, you know, not to mention the premium discount issue makes it only half correlated anyway. The rest of it has to do with the discount. So we do have a support level at 14.7. We're right there for this 4. I won't be surprised if it breaks. Then the next one is 12.30, and the next one is 9.23. That counts. Again, it's similar to Bitcoin in this. Where does the A wave top? It could have topped already. If it gets this 5th, it'll be a higher top. And then the question is where does it find support for the B? These are all valid supports for the B. It is potential that if we do hold 12, I added an account that's similar to Bitcoin where we got a 1, 2, and a bigger C. That's possible as well. So again, I hate having black, red, and blue counts because it's just so much confusion. But like the Bitcoin chart needs it, so does the Ether chart need it. It is one of those times where I've got such a mess of a chart in terms of the price structure. Again, and none of it's my doing. It just is. And so I've got to have the blue count. I'm trying to avoid it on this one because right now it's at only the first level of support. But if we break 1470, it's probably going to pull out a blue count. Kind of a mess. But again, same thing though. I'm treating it the same way. Just right now on GBTC, I'm only trying to get a nice long-term exit on my position, and I'll just scale in as we go to lower my cost, keeping it really, really minimal, keeping it super easy, and then I don't have to worry about trying to take aggressive trades, except for the Magic Bus algo, which I trade totally differently. When we get it, I take it pretty aggressive because that thing is money. So anyway, so we'll review that later, but that's the only time I take an aggressive position in GBTC. And then Bido, I didn't update it like it needs to be updated. I'm realizing because I hardly ever look at it, but so that we can kind of fly through it. Let me do a little cleanup. So the question is whether it holds this one too, right? So let's see, we need to get rid of that. So this too would be that higher C wave or A wave that Bitcoin's got, or this can be the A wave top and we drop down to here. So the support levels I've got are, support levels I've got are 13.13. So that'll be the first one, and then. So yeah, sorry I wasn't prepared on this one. I totally forget about this chart all the time, but I'll get one more fib on there, then we can move on. So the next level of support is 1092, 1060. Is that right? Hang on, 1095. There it is. All right, so those are the 2 levels we've got, and so similar to Bitcoin, it's A, B with a 1, 2 for a higher C, or it's an A, B, C. So one or the other right now. And so we'll see how that goes. But I'll update all of that in terms of count next week, so you guys have that. I think that's where we go to questions. I'm just reviewing before I head to the weekly charts. Yes. So what are your questions? And some of that I ran through fast, but And so if you need me to revisit something, let me know. Let's see, would you please put your cursor on the B count that you lean against for Bitcoin? Yes, let me actually get the big cursor on. So I lean towards, well, no, technically speaking, I lean towards the red. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we stretch. And the reason I do that is because of that RSI. It looks like it's going to get a 30, but ultimately we'll see if it holds 21.8. Okay, so leaning for the 2, but regardless, either it's A, B, C, or it's A, B, C. I lean slightly towards the higher A, B, C. I lean against the C. Does that make sense? Okay, so A, B with a 1, 2 set up for C gets us into 50K first. Okay, after we get through. So hold. Let me do it this way. Hold 21,800. Okay, that's the pivot point. Below that, got a problem with this count. Okay, go to 50. Roughly, we'd have to get precise once we have a top. Roughly go to 25K. Okay, and then run to 125K. Okay, that's my leaning. When I get that predictive with an ABC structure, my warning is the market will do something somewhat different, at least somewhat different. Okay, it's going to take some twists and turns because when you're doing ABCs, man, it's high. The predictive qualities of Elliott wave kind of it's not like they're not there, but they're becoming a little less useful. Okay. So that's my leaning is, again, I'll say it again. So hold 21,800 here. We'll see. The RSI says it can, but we'll see. Okay, if not, it's the blue. Okay, then go to 50-ish, and that's going to be in flux until we have a 2, and then go to 25, and then 125K. Which a lot of twists and turns between 25 and 125K. I don't want to make it sound like we're going from 25 straight to 125K, nice 5x. It's not going to be that easy, but there's going to be some subwaves in there too. But and like things like the wave 4 can like hang out around 75,000 for like a month. So I don't want to make it sound like super direct. That's not the point. No, there's no timing really happening here. Okay, so if 21,800 doesn't hold, then we should drop into the 18 region, and that'll be key because if we don't hold that region, and again, I'll get very precise about it when we get there. Then we're probably going to 7 to 10. Okay, not say probably, we should go to 7 to 10 if that breaks and sustains, but that's not expectation. Again, it was some expectation until we start breaking. Okay. So I don't want to say it can't happen because that's not the point. The point is I'm not focused on that right now. Okay. So hopefully that's pretty clear. We don't mind 3 counts. Yeah, you don't mind, Kathy, but I know people that do. The comments I get. All right. Do you prefer the 6th over the 4-hour when looking at the short term or swing trade charts? Depends what I'm doing. When doing Elliott wave, I just want to see the waves. I don't really care about the time frame because Elliott wave is time frame dependent. It's independent. So I just want to make sure I see that. Like if I'm looking at, if I'm doing Elliott wave on, let's do a 5-minute chart for kicks. If I'm doing an Elliott wave count on, I think it's a waste of time. I never do something, that's clearly corrective. I could say that, and that's about all I'm willing to say on stupid 5-minute. But if I wanted to see these these counts or these waves, definitely I'm going to need a 5-minute chart, right? So it's for me an Elliott wave, it's just seeing the chart. In technicals, I tend to like 2 hour and day. Like I usually don't do anything in between. It just depends. I have algos that worked on the 4-hour, like for instance. And when you're talking about algos that work on 4 hours versus 6 hours, you're talking about overfit algos. All of my algos are somewhat overfit, although the Miracle Magic Bus which is overfit has lasted us for years. Now it's already going on like 3 years being profitable. But that's a whole nother subject, is overfitting algos. But anyway, but yeah, and I tend to use a 2 hour, like if I'm just doing technicals, I tend to look at 2 hour technicals and day technicals and nothing in between. There's no, I think it really comes down to the 2-hour being really good back in 2017, nothing more than that. And it may be not as good if I spent more time on finding good time frames, but I just trade less and less on shorter time frames. Like I have less time. I'm doing so many more trades. Like I prefer, like my 2-hour trades are on automation almost. Like I don't even pull the trigger. It just gets so it just gets harder and harder for me to, like the way I am in trading. I'm always curious about some new edge, and I've expanded my asset classes that I trade over a period of time, and like I get less and less interested in micro trading, except for like with the ES, like I've gotten better and better at the ES futures, so I do more of that, and that's my favorite thing on a short time frame because it actually moves. I mean, the problem with Bitcoin is the 2-hour chart doesn't move very much sometimes. So anyway, all right, Ryan, do you see account where you have the red 3 and BTC is the bottom A on Monday, April 17th, B on April 18th, and now 5 down? I don't see 5 down off the top, period. So I don't know. I don't see 5 down. If you're, I'm trying to part, like, here's the problem with me. When you write out accounts, I have a hard time visualizing it. I do not make that translation well. So I might need you to make a chart. Let me try to parse it one more time. Like, these words are very hard for me to parse. Let's see. Let me pull up my chart and see if I can do it. Problem is, we're going to spend a lot more time, me and my handicap, with parsing words into pictures, because it seriously is a handicap. And okay, see. Is red 3 Bitcoin is the bottom. Okay, so you're talking about this April 17th. B, I don't understand this. Sorry. Give me a chart later. I don't get it. I don't get what you're trying to say. And I'll review it on the board. Yeah, you just post it, please. All right. Any other questions before I move on? I hope this is positive. Like, I know I could tell the mood went kind of south this week, but the one thing I would look forward to me, the most bullish thing I can offer right now, and it's not, oh, look at that little pop we got. The most bullish thing I can offer right now is right here on the daily chart with this horrifically nosediving RSI while price is hardly doing a darn thing in context. That's a pretty good picture. I mean, let's get a little bit lower and let's see what it can do. That's a pretty good picture in my view. And this is where we'll know if we're in a bull market right now, right? If this bull market still has legs, it's going to get a reaction there. And you know, sometimes these are litmus tests. If it does very poorly in this region, then we know that we're in for it. But this is the first test for this. This is the first test since this test right here. This is the next test for this being a new bull market. Simple as that. I mean, and you know, again, everything's a test. Like, there's no certainty in trading. You know, trade, you know, you do use some wisdom in your position sizing and you'll make it through. And if you're aping into everything at every little turn and super emotional about markets, you're just going to lose at doing it. You're just not going to make money over time. You're going to, you know, make a lot of money for a while and then give it all up and all of that stuff. While I'm just sitting here, I'm going to make a little position. I'm going to take a little position here, take a little position here. Okay, you know, that kind of, at least for me, that wins the game, you know. And then we'll take aggressive trades when the market makes it, you know, the parameters tight. You know, I'll get into a futures trade when the parameters are tight, but the parameters are not tight here. We can go a lot lower as the text reset. And then we'll see. And then if we start to see impulsive reversal, then we can get a little more aggressive. But meanwhile, you know, I'll be buying next week slowly again. You know, I might be buying when I get off the plane, take out my strike gap, add a little Bitcoin, whatever. You know, but it's going to be a very, very gingerly, you know, Sunday drive versus sort of trading versus being very aggressive until the market gets, you know, gets its footing. And it's going to make an attempt to get its footing here, maybe down here, but we'll see if it can do that. This is a pretty, you know, this is a very beautiful 5 waves. The problem is we don't know if this is terminal, being the end of a C, but I'm pretty positive about it in that we have the proportions of a potential 1-2. It's pretty nice, but it's got to hold that 21.8, which is that 764 retrace, you know, because the 1-2's always got to hold that, and then that would be that red count 1-2, again taking us into 50. Okay, so I'm pretty positive, but again, we're going to come up on a test and we're going to learn if my positivity is well placed or not. Simple as that. Like, and I have no problem being wrong. So, and that's why I beg you all to be reasonable about your position sizes in case we're wrong, because we get out of the trade, or or if you're like me and you're just doing little casual ads, then you wait for lower to do more ads. Simple as that. And if you have questions or concerns about all that, let me know. But it's served me well. Let's see more questions, and then we'll go on to those weekly charts. Could red B encircle? Red B encircle. I think you left something out there. Go OVE. I assume that's over. Most recent Bitcoin top on BTC. Red circle B and oh, do you mean this B go over 65K, whatever it is at the top? Yes, that's possible. It's completely possible. If that, we'd have to have a hyperextension from a Fibonacci pinball perspective. We'd have to have hyperextension in the third. But hey, we get those, yeah, for sure. Yeah, B waves can break out over. That would the thing it would do though. The problem, if I get a B wave up here, I have to think maybe this is a big flat. I mean, you go B up to let's say 75K, whatever, doesn't matter, and then you go all the way back down to 20K to 15K, and then you go to 125K. That would be a count that would have to be considered, because if that's our B wave and we don't get to 125K, then naturally you would have a C wave that's of the equal length to the A, so A, B, C. So yeah, then you'd expect it. So that would be fun though, because then we would just make lots of money going up, put a stop under it up here, then accumulate back into it, and we'd have a lot of clarity on what it is. Like, oh, you got a big B, then we should hold 16K on the way down. So just scale, put a stop and then scale. That would be a blast. Like, actually, it would be torture for a lot of people, in the universe that don't know Elliott wave. But for me, it would be a lot of money making. Oh man, you guys have a lot of questions. Let's see. Oh, I hate the Plan B guys. I'm sorry. Plan B guy now predicting Bitcoin high only 60K. Okay, fine, that's cool. Yeah, but I mean, okay, but do we believe Plan B guy anymore? It's a fair question, and I'm not saying I hate him. I don't know the guy, but like, yeah, I followed him, and and my problem isn't because he makes predictions and they fail. It's how much he pounds the table, and then they fail. So like, to me, it's always about attitude. I'm giving you guys quote unquote predictions and making some assumption I will be wrong, but I'm making a bigger assumption that we can trade it successfully. Versus this guy tells everyone in the Twitter world that we're going 100K and pounds the table, and then we're gonna do it by this time, and then he goes on vacation when it doesn't happen, So when someone does that, I'm kind of done with them. Like, that's not fair play. That's just bad. That's really bad. I don't have that luxury because people pay for my service, and I can't just take a vacation when I'm wrong. I have to tell everyone and warn everyone I can be wrong, but here's how I'm trading my potential of being wrong. This is my approach. This is my tactics, So it's like, I just don't think that's a professional. Like, that's just quote on, just point blank. That's not a professional. All right, so let's see. Sorry, most recent red count in circle B. Most recent red count in circle B. Oh, this B right here. Yeah, that can do it too. All Bs. The only thing about this is it looks like we had a high B already, so you don't tend to have two high Bs. So this is definitely a B because you have 3 waves down, 3 waves up. I label this as C, but I don't trust. The only way I can do this is with some gymnastics running for here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It really is questionable. I far more believe it's a B. So if we're doing red count and this is B, red count's not going to give us another higher B. Most likely, it's really rare. You rarely get 2 high Bs like that. So that's my caution about that. But it's possible. It is possible. It still happens, but it's I can't even remember the last time I've seen a high B, double high B. It's really rare. Make it sense. This was a ABC with the low at 27.1. In my view, this was a AB. This was well, ABC here to this B. Yes, that's what you mean, right? 27. Oh wait, what are we talking about? Oh, to here. This can be an ABC, yes. Yeah. Okay, sorry. This can be an ABC. A's can be, that's why I say this could end up being the 2. Bitcoin has a tendency to put 5-wave A waves, so I always start there, but sometimes they stop at 3. And yes, if it stops at 3, it can be all of 2. It is entirely possible. That's why I say let's look for an impulse through resistance. Right now, I can tell you when we were looking at that is not an impulse. Now I'm looking at the 5-minute chart, and it can always be some kind of weird truncation, blah blah blah. But that is not an impulse. So I don't expect that to be the bottom right now. It can, but it's just really rare when you look like that. That looks bad. All right. WXY rather than a double high. You guys want to go through every academic version of a correction. WXY rather than a double top high B makes more sense. It's possible, yeah. You can do, I can't say it makes more sense, but you can be W, high X, A, B, C. Yes, you can, and that's pretty common in Bitcoin, but a little early to say that for sure. But there's nothing that says this is not the way I've got it. And I don't assume. I always start with the ABC, but yeah, Bitcoin has a tendency to go WXY, but I don't predict it. I just let it do it. There's no reason. There's one thing, guys. Like you guys that are getting super interested in Elliott Wave, the one thing I don't do is spend too much time on trying to subdivide my corrections. There are 11 different correction patterns in Elliott Wave, and it is nearly impossible to tell what it is early. And I'm talking about triangles and WXYs, WXYs to XZs, and like it is impossible to tell what it is early until it's almost finished. So I do not. I just spend time by just saying, okay, I'm going to make a basic flat, and then let's see what it does. Okay, and I don't need to predict exactly where it finishes. I need to predict where it should finish, so that we know it doesn't break support. But I don't need to spend time going where is it going to take this turn or that turn, because it is almost impossible to predict it. And the only way you need to know, the only thing you need to know is what makes a good impulse, and that's when it shows. Okay, now you know. Clap your hands. Let's go. All right, simple as that. Like you guys are like I think it's funny on the board. You guys want to you guys are spending more energy trying to figure out corrections than I am. Like because it just isn't. It's just wisdom. I just learned it's not that productive. Yeah, no, I know you're trying to learn 11 different corrections and only one impulsive. Exactly. So like you're trying to predict where, what type of shape or form this is going to come out. I'm not even trying to predict it. I'm just starting with the flat, okay, the typical, and then let's see, and then we'll modification as we go. Like it's going to tell me it's not going to predict, it's not going to be predictive ahead of time. And it doesn't matter because in trading, all I need is that impulse before I get aggressive. Simple as that. So there's no point in being worried about it. Bigger ABC in your case and fill the open gap at 200. Yeah, I'm not a gap trader, but yeah, sure. If people are having success with gap trading, like that's cool. I've never been a gap trader. I mean, I understand its value, but yeah, sure. I mean, if we fill the 2100 gap, that would not be my red count. Okay, if we fill the 2100 gap, that's going to be the blue count. Okay, so that's going to be support way down here. But yeah, okay, we can fill that gap and bottom in this B. Sure, that's fine. Like I don't have a concern with that, but I don't do counts by gaps. Like I don't force my counts into the gaps because I'm not a gap trader. But I'm not saying gap trading is bad. I'm just saying I don't. That's my choice. The best thing you can do is keep your trading simple to a few techniques and get very good at those techniques versus trying to learn everything. And I've made that choice 15 years ago. Yeah, I tried to learn everything in my first 5 years, and I realized I was just getting garbagely good. You at some point you realize that if you're trying to manage all those things, you're going to have decision crisis. You're not going to know when to make a trade because, oh, this is saying this and this is saying that. Just take a simple technique and just get really good at it. And one of my approaches is Elliott Wave. RSI, I've gotten better at that over the years. I like it, but I only use it on the daily. I have very particulars like that because that's what I've gotten good at. And I'm sharing what I'm good at with you guys. You guys, and I have no qualms when a member likes to trade gap. So if a member likes to trade gaps, hey, share your gap trading. Just share it with other members. I won't say anything. I won't criticize it if you're good at it. And if you're not good at it, don't share it. Simple as that. Because the problem with sharing stuff that you're not good at is people will start following you and you just lead them down a hole, because I've seen a lot of that. All right. And I don't criticize anyone liking other techniques. It's totally cool. It's just get good at them. Don't spread yourself thin across many methods and end up with like gobbledygook trading that does you no good. It does you no good. It doesn't do others any good if they're trying to follow you. You got to get good at what. Again, there's hundreds of ways to trade and not analyze markets, and I will not knock any of them as long as that person's successful and not arrogant, humble when they're wrong, and at the end of the day, profitable. That's the mandate. All right, let's go on to the weekly charts. These are the altcoins that I cover in the weekly report, and then we'll go from there. Hit request, then we'll talk about trade results. All right, BND. This actually looks kind of good, sort of. I have this as a BC. Jason has this as a 1 2 1 2. I think both are both are valid as long as it's over 313. Below 313 it is 2, but this thing keeps trying to go. It's entirely possible that this is a truncated C, truncated fifth wave on the C as well. That looks possible. So regardless, if I see a clear impulse here, then I'll assume that we're going. Reasonable. I have not been trading BNB a lot, but I think I might add a little bit here through, again, scale into 282. I'll put a red line there. That's where this 1 2 kind of dies, and that's the kind of room I always like to use the highest time frame that I'm comfortable with, and that's the most reliable area. But I would start scaling in here, and then add. It's like a triangle, right? Biggest position near the stop, which is 282, if you wanted to make it aggressive. So that looks kind of good, and that would set us up for 450 if it holds this region. It looks kind of good in terms of the grand scope, but I don't know what's going on in there. It just keeps trying to bounce. So we'll see. But this guy has had some fight. Rune, I have a lot of problems with this chart long term. It has got to hold here at 128 because, like I've said, if it doesn't hold this setup, it likely gets to 90 cents. If 90 cents holds, I'm bearish long term. I've been out of it since recently. I can't remember. Did I get out here? I don't remember whenever I posted. I am going to add this weekend because this is at least at a tight spot. I like to trade where things almost break because that is where the mistake or the bad trade is the least expensive because it doesn't have very far to drop before it invalidates. That's where I like to trade, but I still doesn't look that great. So it's got to hold here. Got to hold 128. 128, then you got 90 cents, and 90 cents I've got below that. I've got nothing bullish. So let's see how it goes. Maybe this one is going to remove itself from the weekly report, but it's at least worth taking a low risk trade to see if it actually can pull itself together. Aave, again, if we don't hold this 68, it should go to 43. It looks like it might be trying today, but again, Bitcoin is in a tough spot. Maybe Bitcoin surprises. I don't know. Of course, a lot of the altcoins have not been that correlated to Bitcoin in the same way that they traditionally are. So we'll see. But reasonable setup right here as long as it holds 68. So we'll see. HBAR has been pretty much performing negatively as expected. All good. I don't expect to bottom until it doesn't typically bottom in this situation after you've had a B wave. You don't bottom near the bottom of the A. You tend to, when you have a nice zigzag like this, A, low B, usually you get to the A equals C, which is 4-3. That's also on the edge, so that one should drop to the edge. And this guy hasn't been very correlated to anything, so it's got its own mind of late, so it should drop into that 4-4 region, and it's got to hold there. Because below that, I don't got much else. Matic, again, looks great long term. My long-term target is was it $10.05, $10.50. Come on. But right now we got pretty good confirmation we're in the black count. So I'll just take the red count off because I like to limit counts. So we should drop into it looks 60 cents would be what I expect minimum, I think. Let me do A equals C. Yeah, A equals C is 102. What am I looking at? Hang on a second. Let's do this. There we go. All right, 47.9. That's where it should go. Ideally, could be as high as 58 cents. 47, 47 cents, 47.9 cents to 58 cents. All right. So we'll see how that goes. Lido broke down, I noticed overnight. So it should hit the A equals C for this B wave is 178. So it looks like it could, this one could be a double XY. It has typical structure, or it could be wave one in a diagonal, and then it's going much lower into 134. So we'll see how that develops. I will probably not scale in until we get to 180 because we should hit that at least, and then but keep it small because we may go lower. GMX, the one coin that bucked the entire 2022 bear market, should hold $59, $58 in that area. It looks like it has enough waves to bottom with one more low. We'll see if that does. That is a setup for 170 next, as long as it holds that space. Mask confirmed the B wave. I noticed that. So now it's in the B wave. That means it can bottom anytime, but we don't have any sign of it. As well, if this is a 1, 2, this looks like this is a good example of a potential WXY. It's possible that A topped here and you have a W, high X, A, B, C. That it looks more like a WXY, but it's not good until, like I said earlier about counting your corrections. You don't know until it terminates, until we get that impulsive reversal. So, so 340 is support until it does. And RPL got a B wave top this week. Ideal it holds 32.5. And if it doesn't, that would be the first indication it's in this larger C wave. Still bullish on it long term, but that's quite a drop. Solana. Don't have any strong feelings between holding 17.7 for this red 2 or dropping all the way into support at 16. Break 16, that's not so good. Won't wreck it long term, but it can drop it a lot lower. No risk of that yet, but we'll watch that. Harmony 1 got us a B wave top, should hold 0.016 in this 2. Below that, then we're still in this 2, and they can go, it's probably about 0.012, and that's about as low as it can go long term. No risk of that yet, but we'll watch how that goes. MX, definitely a honey badger. I still doubt this count, but I also don't want an entry way up here. I want an entry at least close to the blue box, so I still own 0. Patience, 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 and if I don't get it, I don't get it. 98 cents is looking like that's support. Let me just double check that. Staring at it. No, need to make a little adjustments here. Yeah, not much of it. It's around 98 cents. Not much change there. All right, XTZ, Tezos, very much on the brink. Didn't hold. It's not holding 2. I mean, if it reverses here today, I can call that a very low parentheses 2. If not, then I've got support at 85 cents for this circle 2. So that'd be a reset of that. Below that, I don't have anything. The long-term chart needs to hold this 1, 2, and if it stays below 85 cents, it likely doesn't. Doesn't mean it invalidates at 85 cents, but once it crosses and stays below that, the probability is about 90% roughly in experience that the entire 1, 2 breaks. Let's see, do we have? Yeah, that's it. That's all I've got. All right. IMX, I like this chart. I just warn that we have hardly any data, but it is a pretty decent looking 5 waves off the low. It's been a dumpster fire since its entire life. That often leads to the 1, 2 not holding. But so far, we're very far from support, which is 53 cents. Put a line there. And I can take off this one because it broke. And we got confirmation that it's in the red count, not the black count. I'll change it black for the next report. And then we can take off this support because that broke. So it took the alternate count, no big deal. Should reach 80 cents. That's the A equals C. Support level is 54. I am in accumulation mode. I've got a grid bot working on it for accumulation for the win. All right. Square. I know some people want me to get rid of this chart. I'm not even doing anything with it. Maybe we'll get rid of it. But anyway, we don't expect the bottom to 49. There's not much to say. It's quite a mess. Coin. We got a calendar spread working on this one. Put calendar spread. It looks like it has a good chance of being profitable. I might take the short side off if this be rallies, because the short side is already profitable, but might as well. The best approach is probably, let's see, let me think about that. Take it off at B, and then as it drops, reestablish it. I'll work through that. I think there's a good trade management move of that calendar spread. But anyway, this one should go to 45 or so before it bottoms. I'm mainly bullish on this from fundamental perspective now that we're down to one publicly exchange, public exchange. So the chart is not beautiful. It's it had the typical IPO, post-IPO lockup dumpster fire, but it's a reasonable setup as long as it holds that 45. I think it was 39 is the lowest level. I'll look at it as we get closer, but it's reasonable long anyway. And I've got some shares. All right, Marathon broke support for B. Let's see. Why did I draw a box here? Let me just center myself a little bit here. Let me do a little fib work. I'm just trying to look at what did I do here? Oh, yeah. All right, so this is a level of support. There's a red potential. Maybe Jason has this. There's a red potential that you could have an A, B, C as a diagonal, and that would be holding 637. I'm not totally confident in that count, but it is possible. So let me make this red. I think Jason had that, but I don't recall. You guys can tell me. You guys have a chance to stare at all our charts. 637 would be support for that. And then but I still prefer the lower B, and that would be support at 396. So my approach is, I bought a little even yesterday, but I keep letting it fall and just basically scale all the way through. When I have two counts like that, so when I have two levels of support, it's pretty simple for me. I scale through them. And keep my position low until I'm really at the bottom of the support level. Below 396, I want to get the hell out of town. So if it sustains below that, but we got lots of room for that. So just scale. That wins the game, guys. This is how you play Elliott Wave when you have two counts with two different support levels, but they're both below you. You just treat them both like levels in a pyramid, and just scale, super easy. And it's no problem having an alternate count. Do it. Anyway, that'll win the game, or get us stopped out, but at least we'll stop out with low risk until we get to the bottom there. All right, that is the weekly charts. Any questions on those before we go on to the requests and then the trade results? Let's see. What is the best and easiest way, Technixer? Again, I like Elliott Wave, but Elliott Wave is hard to learn. But I love its very precise levels from which to measure risk. That's why I do it. I don't care. Again, I don't treat any technicals like prediction, because especially technicals like RSI, it's all based on price looking back, right? So it can't be predicted by its mathematical nature. But there's certain conditions in the RSI, for instance, on the daily, like I talk about, that are great. I would just it really isn't like this is the best. I mean, it really can't be treated that way. You need to just learn it well. Like, you got to just pick something and study it for 3 months and see if you start to catch something with it. Okay, that's the way I would treat it. Like, the worst thing you could do is say, okay, I'm gonna try trading the MACD, which I think the MACD's only good in certain situations, but I'm gonna trade the MACD, and then I'm not having successful trades over the last week, and then you stop. Right? Like, that's the worst. Like, you don't want to learn that way. You want to do technicals for like 3 months and go, okay. But the thing is you have to, like, the trading is like, most new traders lose because they're over positioned, right? When they lose too much. That's the big thing. I trade a lot smaller than most people probably think, and I don't even share it because some of you guys would probably think less of me. But like, I take a lot of trades that are like $200 or $300. And I take some that are thousands, but those are usually in the things I'm confident in, like Bitcoin and Ether, versus You know, you name it, shitcoins. Like I took a trade on Blur, right? Like a couple weeks ago. I made that trade with $200 as an example. And you know, because it was a trade that was like either it works and I lose $50, or it works and I get thousands. Like that was the kind of trade it was, right? That's why I trade that way. So anyway, so that's the big thing, is most people actually lose because of position sizing, not because of the analysis. And the second reason they lose is because they look for analysis to be predictive instead of looking at analysis as a way to develop, you know, basically, you know, entries and targets, simple as that, and stops. You've got to treat your trades like, you know, again, most pro traders win half their trades. They just and lose half of them. Some traders are worse, like 40%, but they're profitable because the losing trades are smaller than the winning trades by a big margin. And that's the way it is with me. I mean, I think I lose. Well, when we look at the trade results, I didn't lose half my trades in the last couple of months, but I have months where I do worse than that. You know, I'm just being honest. But I keep my losses really tight, and my winners win. My winners run, and I build on them. It's simple. That's what you got to learn. And what technique that you use to do that is, you know, I mean, hang around, ask questions, learn something, get mentoring, read and study. And when you want to put something into practice, put it into practice for many months until you think it's not for you, or you know, you do some other troubleshooting. Because most people, the problem is not the analysis technique. Most of the time, it's the psychology is wrong, or it's the position size. That's usually the problem with trading, and it's not the analysis technique. Kind of a dirty secret, to be honest. All right, what is the lowest time frame that is useful for crypto counts? For crypto counts, I can sometimes get them on 15 minutes, but see that your question is not the best question, because it really is affected by the context. So like, let's go into a daily. That's a good question, but I'm going to reframe your question. That's probably a better way of saying it. So when you have range bound action like this, and it's corrective, you're going to have a real hard time with anything except for the daily. Anything in here is bad. All of this was bad. Like, I could not get any good counts on this on a 2-hour. And if you go back on my posts, I'm sure I don't even remember, but I'm sure the counts changed a lot. Okay, and that's just context. Where you know, we get a clean impulse, it's like the impulse gets driven down to like tighter time frames, like 5 minutes. So the problem is when people are always trying to count. See, I'm starting here, and I watch people on the board are like, oh, you know, I need to get a good count, so I'm gonna go start from here. I'm gonna go way down in here. Oh, let me get it a little cut tighter and get 50 minutes. You know, and they're like way outside of they're like down into the leaf, the bug that's sitting on the leaf inside the forest. And I'm literally out here, you know, because the context requires it. This chop makes everything on the inside be tough. And then the other thing I'm doing is, okay, we got 5 waves here. Okay, anytime you got 5 waves here, you know that you got a 764 retrace somewhere in here, right? So that's very simple. So you know, this is clear. Okay, as a 5-way structure. This is questionable. Might be 5 waves, but you know, I can argue that it's 3 because we had a very anemic 5th, very questionable. And plus, we didn't have a very clear wave 1 that has 5 waves. So anyway, but when you have it clear, then you can say, okay, we got a thing. But the reality is, whether it's going to be clear on a 5-minute or an hour, it depends. There really is no set. It's really sometimes context, and then deciding, you know, if you're in a choppy context, don't think you're going to get any value necessarily on a Elliott wave perspective from down here. If I was going to trade this level, I would want to have a quantitative approach to it, not like basically algo signal or something like that, which I don't have for this type of action. But that's the way to be successful there when Elliott wave really doesn't have much to offer. Anyway. Apologies for late requests. Yeah, I don't do late requests. That's a rule, because so we don't broke the flow for questions. So if you want me to cover that, just put it in the request thread we've got on Seeking Alpha. The problem is right now I'm not covering requests till Monday. But yeah, it's just a rule. It's a hard rule. I don't budge from it. Solana I covered. If you had a question about Solana, let me know, but I covered it. All right, let's see, MX, my original Honey Badger. Yeah, you requested that, Jeff, so I'll cover that. XEN. See, can you describe what you mean by sustains below? Yeah. So the way, okay, so let me back up on that. I generally advise if you're new at trading that you just be mechanical about their stops. The problem is, the reality is, if I give you a stop level, sometimes it'll be a stop run. Like sometimes you get a spike in reverse. I don't have my stops on exchange because I'm very confident in my mind game that, you know, if something is breaking my levels, I have no problem pulling the trigger. Because and also I want to say this very emphatically, I don't mind pulling the trigger on a stop because I'm never overly positioned. I'm always positioned to my comfort size. And so I have, and I've already, and you know, like if I'm taking a trade here, I already have, if I'm taking an aggressive trade here, I already know that my support level is 21,800. And so I'm positioning sized accordingly, right? We're way up here. I have no business with the most aggressive position if my support level is way down here. So it's a pyramid. I can add a little, add a little, add a little, add a little, right? So I have no business being over positioned on far from support. So that's why by the time I get here, that's when I'm finally quote unquote over position, but I'm close to my stop and I'm out, right? So that's number one. And so a lot of people, they do the opposite. They like, okay, I think we might reverse. I'm going to buy here. Oh, but my stop is down here. Okay, well, now you got yourself into a big pickle, right? Okay, so that's number one. Okay, so start from that psychology. But sustaining to me is, okay, you get a break of support, and then you get a nice big, you know, candle wick, right? Okay, well, that's a potential spike below. That's why I don't want my stop right at support. I mean, if you're going to put your stop at 21.8, just put it at like 21.6, just so you give a little bit of room for spike. The problem is still, there's no guarantee that spike doesn't come. Again, in Elliott wave, it's not invalid until it spikes below the previous low. But the 764 retrace tends to be, again, 90% of the time, if you sustain below that, you're going to take this out too. Just experience. So what I do, and again, and this is not a recommendation for everyone, is I don't have a stop on the exchange. Okay, especially I don't want something overnight. I mean, sometimes I wake up and it's down here. That means I got to take a lower stop. But I'm lightly positioned, guys. Like I position lights, and so when I'm down here, I'm like, okay, well, you know, that's the way it rolls today. I got to take a little extra loss. Fine. Okay, but if the price action is like this, gets a little spike, okay, spikes up, that's encouraging, and you go like this. Okay, come back up. Oh, great, we're holding a support. We're holding support. Just a little spike below. And then you do this and you break it. Okay, you're done. That's a sustained. Okay, the other one is if, I wish I can draw better on this one. Let's see if I can draw. Let's see, where's the drawing tool? The other one is, I don't remember where the drawing tool is. Anyway, if you break it and you're just getting corrective action, you know, like you're getting corrective action sideways and you're below it and you're kind of, maybe you're crossing it and below it and crossing below it, that's sustained. That's going to fall away. I mean, again, 99% of the time. So if I see something spike below, come back up, but then it starts going zigzaggedy and it doesn't follow through on the impulsive reversal, it's a stop out to me. So that's what I mean by sustained. So it's a little subjective, but corrective versus impulsive is not subjective to me. It's objective because it has pinball. So if I see a clear impulse after hitting below support, that's a hold so far. But if I see corrective action after breaking support, then it's no go, basically. And again, corrective versus impulsive action is not subjective to me. It's based on Fibonacci structures. Which you have to learn. So you can learn to spot it, just a feel for it. If you're going sideways, you've got multiple lows below that support level, you're done. It's going to break. Is it possible at BTC for an ending diagonal? Ending diagonal for what? You mean down? Possible, yeah, but it's too early to tell. I assume you mean down to, like, you know, where we're at 27. It's possible, but it's too early to tell. And a new high. New high of what? Like a new high of 36K? Oh, so 32, 36. If you're saying the ending diagonal is not done, it's done. It's confirmed invalid to get another high and an ending diagonal into 36K. If you mean this right here, no, it's done because we're below the beat. We're below the wave 2. That's an invalid. That would be an invalid diagonal. So I think that's what you mean. You mean ending diagonal here? No, it's invalid. The wave 2 in that diagonal. Once you break the wave 2 of the diagonal, it's no longer a diagonal. All right. Okay. So let me hit the requests and then excuse me. And then we'll hit the trade results and then we'll go from there. All right, APLD, I'm going to skip it. We're still range bound, so there's nothing to talk about. I got the same trade. I don't know if the trade's going to be successful. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Sorry to be blah, blah, blah about that, but there isn't anything to say there. If there's specific questions, let me know. Cypher, again, poor quality chart, kind of horrific. If we can hold 205, we can get a third wave with it via the C wave to 422 would be the target for that. Again, I'm out of this, but and it's corrective here, so I don't believe we'll see a reversal. So most likely it's going to hit the black 2, and we'll see if it holds. And that support is 149. So I'll draw that box. I want to see what it does there, and I might add back, but I'm out as of whenever I posted it. That was a big failure in my view. And then we'll see if we can get some kind of impulsive reversal. I don't think this is one I'm going to scale in as we go, because this just is not a quality chart. So you will not find me scaling in as it goes down. I'll wait to see if it has an impulsive reversal like it did. This gave me a clue to at least try to take this trade, but then we got a failure. It was a profitable trade, but man, I got out by the skin of my teeth. And hopefully some of you guys took that stop. All right, CLSK, 2A, B, C. I'm trying to go through it. Again, terrible long-term chart, dumpster fire. I'm not going to say much more about that. You guys know. I want to say this is looking like it's going to turn out to be a diagonal, and that suggests that this red count is highly improbable. What does that mean? That means it terminates here and it's new all-time lows, guys. That's what this chart says right now. We'll see if the changes. The only way I can think of it changing. Let's see. Let's see. This could be a wave. This could be a C wave of a large diagonal forming. This is wave 1, but then support is way down in 2. So if you are trying to get out of this one like a gentleman or a gentle lady, the problem is now after this C, you're most likely going to head down to 2. Okay. I know some of you guys have a real hard time just cutting your losses, but I'm just telling you straight up what it is most likely to do. The only way it will be different is if it starts to sustain over 6. Best I can tell, and then we'll see if it can get onto this 3. But I do not see a clear structure for this 3 unless it actually can go all the way down to 243 here. That would be a potential B and then C up to this red 3. This chart is a mess, guys. And I'm saying it that way because I know some of you guys keep hanging on to it, and I just don't want to see you guys lose more money, basically. All right, XZN. Again, dumpster fire for sure, but potential 5 waves. I would be interested in this trade down at support. Support is 0.00000147. That's what I get. Or dot x147, as we used to say when half of our altcoins were multi-digit. So something like that. So it could get another wave higher, but in fact, if it gets another wave higher, the problem is then you may have an ABC. So ideally only a little nudge higher and then starts in the correction 2. I'd be concerned if it continues to go, because then it may actually morph into an ABC. So that's that. Hive. Again, I'm out of this one as of last week, but I will scale into this one because this still looks like a pretty good one too, and that is the case as long as it holds 247 and then 172 if it wants to go into larger B. So to me, it's like, again, scale all the way through. So we have 2 levels of support here, and again, the long-term chart is a wreck. So this red line stands between it and all-time lows. Okay. So do not let your trades, again, sustain. Don't let your trades get sustained below that, or you're going to just keep losing money. But I will scale into this upper level. I will scale into the lower level, again, keeping it light until we get into the deep support. And that always wins for me. Not always wins the trade, but wins the long-term fight. Huts, again, I will scale into this one as well. Again, this chart's a train wreck long-term, but trying to at least get this 1-2 support is 136. So I'll scale into that one. And if it stays below 136, I am out of town. metaphorically, of course, but literally this weekend I am going out of town. All right, XLM, big dumpster fire charts on the long term. Let's see, let me zoom out to it. I did re-look at it this morning. So let me just give you context. This is one of my best trades for 2017. So top 10 three waves in 2017. So that's dead. That makes this. I mean, this red is sort of like quite the Hopian chart. Not believed at all, but the two would be expected to go lower. But right now it looks like we've got a 1-2 set up for much lower. That's the way it looks like it's rolling. But locally there is a trade. I don't think I'm going to take it because I've got enough dumpster fire trades I'm doing. But as long as above 8, it does have a projection to 20 cents. That's only a double to me and not worth it, but you could take that. Again, this is the CO2, so after that it should be on fire again, and I mean in a bad way. All right, OP is the last request. I'll see if there are more questions and we'll look at the trades. And again, my whole purpose of going through the trades mainly is to make sure you guys understand the tools. OP, I'm bearish below 199. I don't have anything clearly, but well, let me see. It could be a WXY here. I don't have anything bullish below 168. I'm not in this one right now, but this is a good spot to add. So I will do that. The only thing I would say is that the proportions here do highly suggest it's actually gonna go to the lower level of 168 right now. Looks that way to me, but it's not bad. It's like, you know, same thing. Treat like a triangle. Start the position, make it as big as you can, make it the big as you intend, and don't wait until you get to the lower support to make it as big as you intend, and then stop if it stays below 168. So pretty easy parameters. I would give it that kind of room because the proportions to me of the A equals C suggest to me that it goes lower. Jason's got the higher like A, B, that's what I've got going on here actually. A, B of 3, that actually works, but it can also be this lower 1-2. Proportions to me, if it breaks 168 for sure, proportions suggest it should go all the way to 168. All right. Any questions before I hit the trade? I mean, I think if you're not interested in the trades we had over the last 12 months, Hive and Hut on the weekly HTF. I don't know what HTF is. HTF. Hive and Hut on the weekly HTF. Do you mean the weekly charts? I'll go through the weekly charts. I don't know if that's what you mean. I don't know what HTF means. So again, Hive is a bearish chart long term. 5 waves down after 3 wave top. That's bearish. This is a wave 2, and then adios. So where's this count here is not believed until we have a lot more bullish action than we're even close to getting. So this is expected to go down to 7 cents. So this is basically a bankruptcy setup. So I'm only trading it for that too, which is basically trading inside a dumpster fire, in my view. HUD I think is similar. Let's see. And you know, what does it take to turn me bullish? Over 13. I mean, that's just what it is. That's a long ways away, and you know, I might take trades before we get there, but I'm talking about where the long-term trend turns from down to up. HUT's weekly, I believe it's similarly bearish, but I can't remember. Let's see. Yeah, so again, the blue count is not believed. You know, there's no reason for it to do that. But what it can do is if it gets this C, it gets a C wave and holds that would be an A in a diagonal, A of 3, so A, B, C. But again, that's so far from even doing anything like that. But right now, all it has is a projection to 381, and then after that, it should be, you know, again like high. This is one. See, look at this. I haven't even mapped out the bearish count, but I mean, look at it. Best I can tell, this is the most reliable. You know, 5 down should put the hair on anyone's neck straight up. 5 down like that. And then so the question is, you know, so is this a 1-2, and or is this a C wave, ABC and A, B, C for diagonal? So I should put the 1 here, A, B, C for diagonal, and then goes up here. I just assume not that chart because Bitcoin has not got a long enough bull market to allow the Bitcoin miners, which are terribly run businesses, to sorry, I dropped my microphone, to get up that far. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But again, we'll see if it forms this C wave and holds a corrective retrace, then sets up for that. Great, then I'm totally wrong. But I have a long time to adjust to whatever. We've got a long time before I have to adjust to anything like that, and I will adjust when it's time, if it does do that, but not believe from here. All right. Higher time frame. Okay, yeah, I just don't use that acronym. Everyone seems to know the acronym except me. HTF, higher time frame. Now I know it. Hopefully I remembered. I have never, ever seen it written that way of all my years, and I've been trading for 20 years. Maybe you young bucks, that's an acronym you guys use. All right. I learned something new today. That's funny. All right. Okay, so trades. Some of this is going to be code. So what I did is I took hopefully you guys can see this. Let me do a little back up. That's a little too big. Okay, we'll just have to scroll. So what I did, I'll just show this on Elliott Wave Trader so you guys know. So if you guys are looking for us, again, this doesn't help people on Seeking Alpha. But if you go to portfolio, you could see the open trades and you can see the closed trades. So we had a pretty good couple of months. I want to do an explanation. So again, because I don't have an active stop management system, I don't do the MBs. MBs stands for Magic Bus, kind of an affectionate name given to the momentum algo that I use. It started with GBTC, and it has outperformed buy and hold. We started it in 2020. It has so it basically GBTC has been down ever since, but the algo itself has captured $36 per share. So basically, I think the GBTC has lost. I have I have it in the spreadsheet, which I'll pull out. But basically has basically been positive $36 per share since 2020, but GBTC itself has lost money. So it's been amazing. I mean, it has some negative quarters, but it's been amazing. So that's that, and then we've extended it to Bido with the Magic Bus, very new, fairly experimental. And then we've been calling Bido's call spreads on that. That's still experimental, but reasonably working. Actually, this should be the same. Should be same symbol. And then what we do have on Seeking Alpha is we have the Ether Core 2 and the Bitcoin Core 2, which are still somewhat experimental, but they're doing pretty well. Then of course I call sometimes some option trades like the Marathon. Those are some pretty good trades. So I just took the February, March closed trades. So what do I want to? So I want to talk about is well, we got a sense of the performance. I'm not much to add. I mean, we had like one bad options trade, but option trades are supposed to be small anyway, right? So like we got the Bido calls, so we got to let 111%, and then we rolled it because the signal was still active, but then that one lost 85 cents. I think we're not going to do that again, right? I mean, I took it smaller, so I made money, but I don't think we'll do that again. I think once we have a profitable signal, even if the signal is still going, I think we just need to not roll it, because the problem is a late entry. I'm realizing what it does to the profitability, so we won't do that again. But I mean, regardless, it was still a pretty good trade. I had said that I was going to take the second one smaller than the first, so it was pretty good money making. The coin calendar spread, I think, should be profitable based on that chart, but we'll see how that goes. Right now it's a little bit underwater. And then surprisingly, these shorts are actually in money, right? So on April 20 we went short, but I didn't take the trade because, again, what I'm trying to do with the core algos is filter it by trend. So we've been long, and so then the first short is not on trend. The first short just comes out of nowhere, and then if the long after that is a loser, then the second short we would take. But I'm going to study that further. Obviously, right now it looks like it was a pretty good trade, but I didn't take it yet, at least. The second thing I want to indicate is I want to help you guys understand these, because I think a lot of people are not using the tools quite yet because they don't understand it. So the first thing I want to review is, so we'll look at it on Elliott Wave. You guys have it on a spreadsheet on Seeking Alpha. But if you look at the core position. So I've got this entry 2, entry 3, entry 4. Again, the stop itself is only good if we close below it on UTC 00, which for me is 5 o'clock Pacific time. I think off of daylight saving, after daylight savings is over, it's 4 o'clock. I don't remember. Anyway, it switches. But UTC 00. So if you close below that at UTC 00, which works pretty well, people in the United States, might be tough people in Europe, then you would take the stop. And then you have this entry 2, entry 3, entry 4. What I'm suggesting with the core algo, even if it's like on trend or off trend, so if it's off trend, you can still use these levels to scale in. So what you would do is, you would enter at, if you entered a little bit at 28,248, then if this was a short, right? And then if the market rallied up to 28.9, you can do a secondary entry to make it larger, because then you're closer to the stop, right? So lower risk. This one's even closer, and this one's even closer. So that's why I'm giving these entry 2, entry 3. So if you take the initial entry, you just want to start it really, really small, and then add if it starts to pull back. And the same thing I would do, I don't have a method to give you guys guidance on scaling out, but what I would do is constantly take half profit if you get like a good run, or lock in your principles even better at some point in time when you are profitable. And then you can use the next scale in to take the entry again to scale back in. So these algos on back test, the core algo 2 for Ether and Bitcoin, they're slightly different parameters. They're both momentum trend based. They back test quite well, but what I couldn't do was program this really nice sort of scale in, scale out. And what I found though is it's not necessarily going to increase your profitability for the long term, but it will reduce your risk on any trade that is not profitable. So if you look at, and I'll do a performance report on this, it's overdue, but I'll try to do it while I'm traveling. I'll do a performance report on all the algos so you guys have that as an official report. Again, I try to do that every quarter. But if you look at so when we start, let's say take the Ether core here, it started off a little rough. Short, lost 10, lost 8, and then we lost 3, but then we got a big one. We gained 21%, right? And that kind of made up for a lot of that. I think when this one hit, it was still not yet profitable, but it was like almost break even. And then we got profitable. Let's see, yeah, this one brought us in a profit big time. I was thinking about the past month. And then similarly with where's Bitcoin Core? Yeah, so this one got 27%. So what we're trying to avoid with the on trend off trend filter, and again, I'm stating when they are on trend or off trend, is trying to avoid as many of the losses as possible, but I need to study it. But a better way of doing is actually taking it very small when it's off trend, and then scaling in as it pulls back, and then taking the loss at a less of a risk. That's actually probably a little bit better, because some of these, like these last ones, these are both shorts that are off trend. They probably are going to be profitable, it looks like, if you had taken them. So that's one that I suggest is getting used to, because they're pretty good tools. And then again, the other thing about these is that I mostly take these with futures. And I do it fully collateralized, so I don't have to worry about stops. That's not saying you guys should. Oh, I need to say that all of these trades are just tools. Not all of these trades these are not necessarily recommendations. Again, I cannot recommend anything to you. These are just educational. They're meant to be as tools. They are here for you to figure out how you want to use them. So when I say I am taking them as futures, that doesn't mean you should take them as futures or even take the trades at all. But that's the way I am been treating these, and it's been very good. I haven't done it less on the Ether side, but far more on the Bitcoin side. Okay. So anyway, what was I getting? My point is again, we're going to have a decent amount of losses for sure, but if you get that scale in, that scale out, you can limit it on the bad trades for sure, and then increase your skew on the good ones. I'm trying to think what else. I still think that, so I feel, again, Bido, Magic Bus, I think is still experimental, although I believe it's profitable now. Well, I'll have to double check on the performance report, and we'll see how that goes. Looks like the call options right to there were profitable, all of them, but then that was a pretty heavy chunk. And again, we're not going to do that again. I don't want to roll position. I think that was a good learning. But I mean, it's irrelevant. I mean, if I took like maybe 10 of these, which is very small for the account that I was using. So not a big loss at all. Any questions on these guys? And then I'll continue to call options trades. I'm looking for more earnings trades. These were marathon. I think these were calendar spreads, right? I think they were. No. The calendar spread that is not on here is the one that gained 200%. Yeah. These may have been calendar spreads, but yeah, I called one this week and I forgot to input it into the table, but it was a 230% gain, so it's the biggest one on here. Again, a little options trade, but I will try to get better about not missing those, and then we'll see what happens with the coin calendar spread. Any questions about these? I'm just trying to get people used to the tools. Anyone have questions not understanding the Magic Bus algos, which is BIDO? We got an experimental futures one. That one is very experimental. We've only had 2 signals so far. It's a loss, but that's too short of a history. Backtests look good. We had pretty darn good results in the GBT. I mean, again, this algo just kills. We had very good results this quarter so far, or last quarter so far. But we'll do the report pretty soon. Any questions on those? How to use them? What do they do? I can't give you the secret sauce, but I can tell you the basics of it. Let's see. What would be likely exit on open Bitcoin short to short that was entered on 420? It's pretty simple. I mean, it's very simple. The stop is, let me just verify it. The support is 568. So it would be a loss right now if it hit the stop. It's a trailing stop. It will constrict over price over time. Again, this is not a stop unless you close over. So you never get that exactly because you take the trade. It was back tested on a close over under the stop at UTC 00. So like the Ether one, I forget where the stop was for the last Ether and Bitcoin stop out, but it lost a little bit of it still made a big return, but it was a little, it got out a little bit lower than the stop itself, but not by much. So that is the stop. Again, you wouldn't use it until it goes over the trade, so you can kind of do the math. You can imagine like a kind of a slippage of about 1%. Like again, if Bitcoin rallies over the stop level, and then finally UTC 00 finally hits, and you're a little bit over, then you're going to take a little bit more of a loss than that. And again, the reason I do that is because sometimes the Asian trade, it really has to do with the Asian trade. Sometimes they pull it back in. So sometimes you have a spike over, and then just before the 00 point comes back in, and that's why I do that. All right. So that is your stop if you wanted to take it. And again, not a recommendation. I'm not in these right now, but I'm thinking about it. Depending on if the action this weekend is corrective, I may take a futures short trade on Sunday night when the futures opens. Are the BTC Core 2 and Core 2 futures based? No, they are spot based actually, but that doesn't matter. I'm taking the trade. I'm taking the trade based on the spot prices. So the stop, I'm using Coinbase, specifically Coinbase. Coinbase is level as the stop, but I'm deploying the trade on futures basically. And even if the futures price is a little bit different, it doesn't matter. It's tight enough. It works all the same because the futures. I mean, it's actually really nice when futures, like if you get into a major bottom, future goes into backwardation, right? So you could end up with taking the futures trade slightly lower if the backwardation holds. I mean, it's a momentum signal. So when you hit a bottom and futures are in backwardation, and then you come back, you get enough momentum to the upside to trigger the signal. It could always be back to contango by then. But again, I'm paying attention to the spot price, not to the futures price. See, on algo positions, you recommend not having the stops on exchange. You are not following the algo if you put the stop on exchange. Again, unless you can tell the stop to not trigger until UTC 00, then you're not following the algo. I'm recommending that everyone size down. If you're using the algo, I would just suggest this. If you choose to do it, you just start off with very small and get used to it, and you're gonna have to figure out what position size you can do that. So again, like I am a guy that that does manual stops. And so in this situation, I wait for my for the stop to get hit at UTC 00, and then I pull the trigger. But if you put the stop on exchange, then it might hit it before UTC 0 and then come back. So hopefully that makes sense. So it may not work. With options trades, how do you decide when to exit a losing trade? So a lot of my options trades, like they're meant to go to 0. Like honestly, like I do a lot of trades like butterflies and things. It's like if that thing goes to 0, that's fine. But if I say I'm doing like a call spread on a third wave, then when that third wave fails, then I get out. So I don't do anything like where I know some people do, like I take SPX options and then I get like a 50% stop. When I lose half the trade, I'm out. And most option trades are like 3 to 1 win to lose skew or whatever. So a lot of people do that. I don't do that. I tend to have a underlying level stop and then pull the trigger on the option. That's generally the way I trade. So like a call spread on a third wave, and the third wave fails, like we saw a lot of third wave failures this week, right? And then I would manually stop out of the option. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. And a lot of my options trades tend to, again, they're not much of my portfolio. They are not heavy trades. They are like lottos that make tons of money, right? It's like the marathon calendar spread over the last couple of weeks. Let's see, I'm trying to think. So they were like 40 cents buy-in, and I think I had something like 10 of them across a couple accounts. Really not big, right? So like $400, is that right? 40, yeah, times 10, $400. And then each one closed at $1.35, so $135 times 10, right? So my 400, I can't remember if it's exactly like I had 10, but like $400 in and then 1,350 out. Like that was basically the trade, and it was designed to go to 0. So I could have lost all the $400. I mean, if I knew it wasn't going to work, if I knew that that marathon wasn't going to be bullish anymore, and it broke the third wave earlier, then I would get out, and then hopefully I would have some money. But I'm just saying that when I start an options trade, generally it takes hardly any money. It's not a big position, and it goes to 0. That's fine. But I have a decent record in options trading. In fact, I track the options trading I track and have it on gobs of spreadsheets just to make sure I keep myself honest. All right. Stop on close. Yeah, the algo is basically stop on close using the UTC 00 close. So like you can use, like, so most people, I think their trading view cryptos are set to UTC, so UTC 0, so you can use the daily candle usually. Just make sure it's triggering at UTC 00. So you can put on an alert on trading view, and then if you get the alert at UTC 0, then you can manually pull the stop. And that's what I do basically. Any other questions? All right, if any more comes up, let me know. It's been a pretty good couple of months. I do think we got treacherous actions. I do think we can all come out profitably. I would just, again, be very careful with position size. That's probably the main thing. I wouldn't run from the hills necessarily. I know some people psychologically are prone to say, okay, this is confusing action, I don't want to be in it. That's fine, as long as you're comfortable with potentially chasing. I don't like to chase, so I tend to get in even into sloppy action. I just use reasonable position sizings, basically the basics there. So all right, so I'm going to sign off. I'll get the video again. If you're on Twitter, sorry you don't get the video, but if you are an Elliott Wave trader, even if you're in the markets service, I will post it there. I got to reserve something for the members. And then I'll get the charts up as well. And then, again, if you're curious about what we do here, do try a free trial. If you want to chat with me on Twitter about, again, more questions about it. But I mean, the best thing is, man, take a 2-week trial. Don't put your credit card in because you don't have to anyway. And then just see how it is. And if it ain't for you, then no worries. But all right, we'll talk to you guys soon. And I'll travel safe. So I'll see you guys. Looks like probably Monday night is the next spot, or Monday during the day is next time I'll see you guys. All right, talk to you later. What?